MoistCritical is a big YouTuber and a small Destiny fan, occasionally logging in and playing the game. However, he very often has excellent insights into the game, into its potential, and I really like to hear his opinions, especially about Destiny 2, as he's also a variety gamer. He's played so many different games, and recently he made a video titled "Reading This Made Me Mad," where he reacted to the State of the Game article from Bungie. And so in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to the reaction as a 9-year content creator in Destiny with over 19,000 hours, giving my opinion of this video. Let's jump into it.
Destiny 2 is a game that I have a very interesting relationship with.
Hold up here.
It's a relationship that I think teeters on being abusive.
I feel like we're about to get a nip slip.
The Stockholm Syndrome is hitting so deep
that
I
right
can't help but keep coming back, only to constantly have my ass beaten by the developers, Bungie. I get punished for wanting to dive back into Destiny 2 and sink a ton of time into again and grind it out and enjoy it. I come back once a year to Destiny 2, my old mistress, thinking things have changed, thinking that they've changed, because they have a shiny new piece of content, a brand new raid that puts stars in my eyes, and I can't resist the urge to get back into the grind and go for world first. That is still, to date, I think the funnest activities I ever do in gaming annually, which is go for world first raid completions. We never even come close, of course, and sometimes we've only ever completed the raid on day one a single time. I'll get to that in a moment. But the experience in Destiny 2 of raiding is unlike anything else. With friends, it's some of the most memorable moments in all of gaming for me. I just love it. But the big problem is, that's about all they have. They do one high-effort content push per year, if that, for Destiny 2, and everything else is just filler, tedious chores, or just complete and utter neglect.
Okay, so the first point that he makes is that they come out with the once annual world's first raid race for the new raid, which is true. They also do have technically the reprise raid and the world's first race for that. But setting that aside, let's say that there's just the one world's first raid race and that is the big and the only thing that he's interested in. And I greatly respect that, because I personally think that is easily the coolest time in Destiny 2 on the annual calendar. But to say that that's the only interesting thing in the game is a bit of a stretch in my opinion. There's so many other enticing things in Destiny 2. You've got dungeons, you've got grinding for god roll weapons, build crafting, on top of lots of other things that you could do that are just probably a little bit more tedious. But I really feel like at the very least we should acknowledge that the end game of Destiny 2 is raids, dungeons, god rolls, and build crafting. And if you don't like or appreciate those things that much, then you might be playing the wrong game, because that is truly the most fun in the game overall. But I digress.
With a smile on their face and a middle finger to the community, it seems like most of their focus throughout the year is spent on microtransactions from their Eververse store in order to nickel and dime and shake down people for their lunch money with cosmetics, and not fixing things that need fixing, not addressing things that need addressing, not even listening to community feedback or the player base, and just going complete radio silence until here's the new expansion, and you guys are gonna buy it. We know you're gonna buy it, so get ready to buy it. I hate that this is kind of what Destiny 2 has become. I want a reason to log in and play and grind. I want fun things to do in the game, but there just really isn't. Now, I have always said Destiny 2 has so much potential, the most potential out of pretty much any product on the market. And not just from the PvE standpoint, but it also does have PvP. And the PvP could be great. It could be so much better. This is Bungie we're talking about. They made Halo 1, 2, 3, and Reach some of the best fucking multiplayer games there are in the FPS genre. They could make Destiny 2's PvP an absolute powerhouse of a shooter, but they don't put even a single iota of effort into it.
This criticism has been given 1,000,001 times, and I have been at the forefront of giving this criticism, especially early on when I was very PvP-centric in my focus in Destiny. But one thing that really does need to be repeatedly said as a Destiny player, someone that's played this for so long, is that I don't know that there's much room for this game to progress further in PvP in terms of what it's capable of, other than just obviously new loot and fun, quirky playlists. Of course, bring us that, along with the new maps, Bungie. But I really don't ever see Destiny having any sort of esports esports scene. I don't even think it's possible with a looter shooter game to go into esports or have any sort of serious competitive presence within Destiny 2. The PvP is always meant to be a sideshow and always will be. And I know that we like to fantasize about what the game would be like if PvP was the central focus of the game and PvE was the sideshow. But I personally don't believe that in that universe, Destiny is as great a game as it is. I think that it was always meant to be a PvE game, and it always does better when that is their main focus. But you're free to disagree in the comments.
I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm not special. A lot of the community is feeling betrayed by Bungie, even more so now than ever, thanks to their most recent post on the state of the game, where it's just such a nothing burger, like a complete empty calorie sandwich that has nothing to do except just say like, hey, this game development is not easy, so don't expect too much, and here's our plans for the future, and it's just really underwhelming. I don't know if they're just keeping big stuff close to the chest and they don't want to reveal a lot in their state of the game post, but it's still just alarming because they don't really do a whole lot for the game throughout these seasons. For those that don't know, Destiny 2 operates on a seasonal model, so it's supposed to be getting like an influx of content at different periods throughout the year, but really the only thing that ever actually has any substance to it is when they release either a dungeon that they finally put effort into, or their new expansion with some big story moments, big story missions, and a raid. A shiny, nice new toy for everyone to play with and everyone to come together and try and tackle the hardest content Destiny offers.
So in that point there, he does talk about how raids and dungeons are the biggest point of Destiny 2. Of course, that is the end game content, but there is a lot more to that, and what Bungie has done is they've created so many little things that they just trickle and give us that drip feed of content to, that creates such a wide parameter of players that enjoy Destiny. Now, is that the right decision? Does that spread their developmental team too thin? Are all really excellent questions, and we'll never really know what the game would be like if Bungie just hyper-focused on raids and dungeons. Personally, I would like that more because I could give two shits about any cosmetics in the game, but it should be said that there is a lot that Bungie is developing. It's just spread very thin across so many different mediums in the game, and I'm not going to sit here and create an exhaustive list. There's everyone that plays Destiny kind of knows what I'm talking about.
At least that's how it used to be. This is a controversial take in the Destiny community, but I'm just gonna say it out loud and scream it from the mountaintops. Their most recent raid in the LIGHTFALL expansion was a joke. Root of Nightmares was a raid that me and my team completed in 5 hours, and we are a team that has literally never completed a raid on day one ever.
I don't really think that's that hot of a take. I think a lot of people criticize this raid for being too easy, and I think when he says it's a joke, that's what he means. Him and his raid team were able to successfully beat it in 5 hours, whereas normally they were never able to beat the raid within the first day, and it's just objectively true that the raid is just much easier this time around. I think that Bungie was experimenting with this to see what the feedback would be like, to see what the player population within the raid would be like, and it's still kind of from a developmental standpoint, not from a community standpoint, but from a development standpoint, it's more of a to be determined type of aspect. Although I will say I agree with him, it was the easiest raid we've ever done, especially for day one, and that was super disappointing in my opinion.
Until this one. We are a team of casual players. I have probably the least amount of hours out of my group. I have close to like 1,000. Most of the others are between like 1,500 and 2,000, maybe a little bit more. But we usually never day one complete a raid. And for Root of Nightmares, one that we were so excited for, we did it in 5 hours, and it just felt really deflating because we love the challenge. Like, there's a sick joy to banging your head against a wall in a really tough encounter for 16 hours until you finally get it.
There is a very special element to not beating the raid in day one, and that is aspirational content, something that Bungie looks very down on. Because if you create content in the game that's extremely challenging, that creates that aspirational content, something to work towards, but that directly comes in violation of one of Bungie's biggest principles, which is accessibility. They want everyone to be able to play the game, and they want everyone to be able to beat the raid. In doing so, though, you make a raid that is not very challenging.
That euphoric moment when everything clicks and you complete the encounter it's so triumphant, but in Root of Nightmares, it was really, like, underwhelming. It felt really half-baked. Usually in raids, each encounter is a whole different ballgame in what you have to do in order to overcome the challenge. Of course, mechanics are borrowed from previous encounters, but they're expanded. They're given more and more depth. So you'll learn a mechanic in encounter 1 of a raid, and then you'll use that mechanic in encounter 2 in a different way, in a deeper way, in a totally different application of it. In Root of Nightmares, there was really only 2 mechanics the entire raid that never really changed. It was just rinse and repeat. They just kept copy and pasting the same mechanic over and over again.
Initially, I somewhat agree with this criticism that the mechanic didn't really evolve or build upon something. Initially, I'm in agreement with him on this one. The mechanic in the Root of Nightmares, the light buff and the dark buff, doesn't really build on top of itself and evolve into something more from the first, the second, and the fourth encounter. But the terrain of the encounter itself does change, and the way you actually use that buff tends to change from each encounter. On the second encounter, you literally have to cross with the buff over to the other side and give the light and darkness buff to the other side. And by the time you get to the final encounter, you have to know how that mechanic works so fast and do it so efficiently that you don't wipe everyone on your entire team. This does add a certain degree of difficulty to the encounter. And so while I don't think that the mechanic was truly copy and paste from first, second, and fourth, I agree that it didn't quite evolve enough, but it wasn't really the worst mechanic ever in my opinion. And I personally didn't mind it that much. It was quite simplistic though.
It was super, like, phoned in and lazy. There's only one good encounter in Root of Nightmares, and it's encounter 3 with the planets. That is a fun one. That is what we would have expected the raid to be like, where it has these really interesting encounters that have a lot of depth to them, but it's the only one. It's the exception in Root of Nightmares. Everything else is the exact same shit over and over again. It was just sad. And usually world first races last quite a long time, even for the best teams in the game. But this one was still completed in only a handful of hours. It was so fucking quick. Also, I wasn't exaggerating about this 16 hours on like a single room. When we did Deepstone Crypt Day 1 a couple years ago, we actually spent 16 hours in the second encounter until we finally got through.
Be honest down in the comments, how long did it take you to kill Atrax in the Deepstone Crypt if you did do the contest mode? Myself, personally, me and my team struggled so hard. We were there for like 4 to 6 hours. It was brutal.
It was fun. Like, we still look back on that fondly. And in Root of Nightmares, we literally took a 3-hour break. So it was 5 hours total, but the entire time was 8 hours because after the first 2 or 3 hours, we took a 3-hour break to watch the Moist Esports Valorant team play. Then we came back and then completed it in like another hour and a half, basically. It was so underwhelming compared to all of the other Day 1 raids that we have done over the years. And let's not even get started on the campaign. The Lightfall campaign was a joke. They forgot that there was supposed to be a story in the Lightfall expansion. They literally forgot the narrative. So, you know, I won't even get too deep into that. Point is, it seems the direction Destiny 2 is going is one that the community is not excited about. And it seems like it's one that's entirely either fueled by greed or laziness or a combination of the two. Because most of their effort is spent on cosmetics, it feels like. It seems like that's where most of their resources and team is allocated to, is anything like microtransaction related. At least that's how I and many others feel. And less on like actually improving the game or adding meaningful content or meaningful updates to it. It's sad because this game has like the highest potential out of any product on the market, in my opinion. Just straight up across the board. This game has the most potential. The gunplay is extremely satisfying. The builds are extremely fun and versatile. Except for Warlocks for a while, pretty much all of us were using Starfire Protocol because, I mean, you could use it for pretty much everything.
And this is a point that he makes that I greatly agree with. I truly believe that Destiny 2 has the bones, it has the potential, the structure to be the greatest game ever. It's just Bungie is blinded by whatever sort of weird visions they have, whatever sort of half-baked team they're working with currently, and they're not really seeing the big picture. And the big picture for Bungie should be to make Destiny 2 Game of the Year, and in the process of trying to make it Game of the Year, they may fall short, but at least it would be a significantly better product than what it is now, and one that I and you would greatly enjoy playing significantly more than this cash cow machine that they've turned it into.
For the most part, the builds are extremely versatile. They have their own unique niches that they can fill in raids and tough encounters, and there's just so much variety to the gameplay itself, so much depth. It's just such a beautiful game, too. Everything is so nice in Destiny and feels so good. And when they actually put effort into the lore, like they did with Witch Queen expansion, the story was great, too. Obviously fumbled with Lightfall, but it has all of the building blocks of a masterpiece. The only thing it's missing is a development team that cares about it. Like, it's sad. It's sad. And instead of, like, putting people's mind at ease with this state of the game where it's like, look, guys, we know you've been dropping the ball, but here's what we're going to do. We're really going to put our foot on the gas pedal and go hog wild and deliver the Destiny 2 experience that you guys really want. Instead of doing that, they instead release, like, the worst summer book report of nothing about the direction they're going with the game and what they're adding to it and what they're doing. It's just, like, it's so flat. It's so flat, which made everyone pretty upset. I went over it on stream, so I'm just going to play the stream clips for you. But I know most of you have probably been mesmerized by what I'm wearing here. This is the newest Moist Global.
Nope, not mesmerized by this. I was worried about a nip slip the entire time. I was trying not to get demonetized.
Did you see that the Destiny community is pissed at Bungie for their State of the Game article, where Bungie basically went, yeah, game development is hard, so we have to do the bare minimum. Please buy the final shape. No, look it up, though. That sounds very on-brand for modern Bungie, unfortunately. Destiny is a game with the most potential that is never realized because Bungie's too lazy. That's so frustrating. My name is Joe, I'm the game director for Destiny 2. Right now the team and I are heads down on making sure the final shape and the seasons leading up to it are incredible, so for the rest of this update you'll be hearing from a bunch of different voices that all contributed to this mid-year state of the game. Wanted to start with a quick thanks to all of you who have been playing Destiny for so many years. The way you play and feedback you give us is a huge part of how we shape our plans, and it's an honor to log in each day and play in this universe alongside all of you. Is this the major complaint? Most frequent feedback we see is that there's just not enough new PvP content, specifically new maps.
Yes, that is definitely the biggest PvP complaint lately, just because we haven't gotten maps in such a long period of time. However, we also do want more PvP content. We want more weapons to grind for. But first and foremost, maps are definitely at the top of the list.
Was the maps the big issue? Because I remember when I was grinding for Recluse, the big thing I hated about it is the PvP is so half-baked. So dreadfully half-baked. There is so much they could do with PvP in that game if they just gave the slightest about it. That is a major complaint, but not the biggest issue in the game. Oh, no, not in the game. I just meant in terms of PvP. Yeah, they've made no maps in the past 3 years. We have a Vex network-themed map debuting alongside the new Relic 6v6.
I mean, technically we did have Disjunction, but we're not going to count that because it was such a bad map.
Game mode. The gunplay-focused checkmate modifier for multiple modes, a new competitive Ascendant Division emblem, and more. Cool emblem, I guess. So, one new map in 3 years. W. Solid and efficient pipeline. Someone with 4K hours in the game. The community's pissed at the state of the game because they basically say that 2/3 of the game is irrelevant because of manning issues. Basically told the community that we are lazy, so we're not going to make new stuff that much. Oh my god, wait, they have Gambit in here? Ew. The update better just be, we're removing Gambit. We know this is long overdue. We forgot it was in the game. We're getting rid of it. Oh, fuck.
They did pretty much say that.
As many of you have noticed, we've been quiet on Gambit since last year's overhaul that launched alongside the Witch Queen. In that revamp, the team made significant changes across 5 categories in Gambit. Core activity fundamentals, primeval tuning, invasions, ammo economy, and rewards. Unfortunately, these updates didn't move the needle for player engagement, although we know our Gambit fans... Stop lying. No such thing. Although we know our Gambit fans mostly care about new or returning maps, this is an area of the game with lower engagement that would take resources away from more popular parts of the game to shore up.
That's what I'm saying. Throw it in the DCV!
More resources to significantly transform Gambit. We do have a few... Man, I thought they were about to say we're getting rid of it.
They were so close.
We do have a few updates planned for the year of the final shape. These
in the DCV.
Porting the Cathedral of Scars map and its beautiful dreaming city. It's, who cares? Gambit's still here. Jesus Christ. Just get rid of it. Even you can't help but admit this is an area of the game with lower engagement that takes resources away from other parts. Just get rid of it. Put it down. Just put it down.
Put it down.
Oh my god.
Sorry to those out there that love Gambit.
You don't update it. You don't touch it. It's boring. Just get rid of it. That'll free up like 40 gigabytes off of the 200 gig download or whatever. Okay, so in summary, PvP got no real update, and that new map comment didn't go over well. Gambit is getting one ported map from 2018, and that's it. And there's some quality of life changes, which are good, but that's about it. No major impactful changes. Huge. So what's the statement they made about why they're so inefficient at releasing anything of value into the game?
Game development hard.
Sentiment.
It hard.
Do you agree that Destiny 2 is the best gunplay art style of any FPS and that's why it's still relevant? Not only that, it's the raids.
Listen here, Mr. MoistCritical. Bungie is an indie developer, okay? With a measly budget of $3.6 billion. How dare you challenge their studio's efficiency at creating a whopping 1 PvP map a year and copy-pasting an old Gambit map after 2 years of no Gambit updates.
Their raids... and even some of their other content like dungeons are so incredibly creative, fun, and fulfilling. But then it's sandwiched in between such tedium, greed, and like misdirection. It has so much potential. yet they put no effort into it. This is something my friends and I talk about a lot. A lot. Like, a great example is Root of Nightmares. We were so hyped for Root of Nightmares, and we completed it in 5 hours day one, which we've never been able to do before. Ever. We have never day one to raid, and we did that one in 5 hours. They're not putting effort into it. To set expectations, our studio structure is built to support more overarching updates to PvP like the ones above, rather than focusing exclusively on maps. When we do focus our resources on building new Crucible maps, it comes with a trade-off of multiple teams' bandwidths on work that contributes to a variety of experiences that players also hold dear, such as a new story or exotic mission content, core activities that make up the foundation for each season, or new destinations. Similarly, bringing back reprise maps also involves extensive porting to the latest version of Destiny 2, which requires additional resources to ensure the maps work correctly for multiple game modes and playstyles for years to come. So that's where they're basically saying, like, game development's hard and we don't have real bandwidth because we don't know how to manage our teams. It will get better, they just need AI.
Honestly, though, ChatGPT could probably write a better story than Bungie's current seasonal narrative team.
Yeah, they're just holding out for AI. Why actually work on managing a team of people when they can just have AI do it for them? They said in a press conference a while ago they were quantity over quality, and we don't
velocity over quality.
What riddle did I just read there? Did you get the statement? Did they want quality over quantity? Because they've done neither. Regardless, like, I don't even know what the statement
it's velocity over quality
that comment, but regardless of quantity over quality or quality over content, they have literally done neither. They also said the final shape in its raid will provide a climactic conclusion to the Light and Darkness saga, probably due to the LIGHTFALL backlash. Well, they forgot to put the story in there. They literally forgot to put the narrative in the goddamn expansion. So yeah, hopefully this will provide something. Some kind of plot. How haven't you given up on the game yet? Again, this is a game with so much potential that is just constantly unrealized. It's criminal.
And to be fair, Destiny has a ton of potential, but even if you look at how much money it's made right now, I mean, it was bought for $3.6 billion. Clearly, it hasn't had completely unwasted potential. I mean, the game is lucrative enough to be acquired for that much money, and also has existed for 9 years, and has transcended the typical box model approach that video game developers took when this game actually launched. Without sounding like a complete shill, Bungie has done some pretty incredible things with this franchise. It's just, as of lately, it feels like we have the B team running the show for Destiny 2, like they just threw a couple Bungie shirts on some interns and said, get in there and write the LIGHTFALL narrative. When this late in the game, they really should have their heavy hitters to finish the cycle of Destiny, to finish that first decade with an emphatic stamp of approval from the Destiny community. But let's continue.
You think Destiny would be in a significantly better spot with Activision still being a part of it? It seems the game went downhill once they split with Activision, and Bungie has fooled us into thinking it was Activision's fault.
No.
That's something Jackson and I speculated on back and forth. The short answer is I have no idea.
I don't think it mattered either way.
Doors. I really don't know.
I don't think it mattered either way.
But you're right. The game has definitely gotten worse since they've been apart from Activision.
Not entirely. Content-wise,
how much Activision did to help them,
but the quality of life updates have gotten better.
They just lost direction.
It's a fair criticism.
Like, I don't see Activision being the thing that was making Destiny 2 good.
Definitely not.
Activision provided High Moon and Vicarious Vision to do major expansion. So were they actually, like, hands-on with providing, like, direct support to Bungie for those things? Maybe they were really helpful then. I guess, not knowing the actual relationship between Activision and Bungie during development, the only thing I could see as, like, a positive with Activision involved is they would 100% ensure Bungie is actually working on this game. Whereas right now I feel like they just go into the office and literally play beer pong and then go home. Like, I don't know what the f they do all year on this game. They make, like, one decent piece of content with a raid every year, and that's it. Like, what the f do they do in between? I've seen a lot of people say that. Did they actually make that statement about not over-delivering? Because they don't want to set expectations too high?
They did.
Because if so, that is so fucking embarrassing. Oh my god. If you haven't read the GDC 2022 conference, it's definitely worth a read. No, I haven't.
It's exhaustive, though.
I'll check it out.
We watched that for a video.
3,700 hours in the game. People are shitting on it way more than it should be. I don't know what the backlash is, like the scale of it. All I can say is that even as someone who only has like, I think close to 600 or 700 hours across console and PC, probably more than that, but it's very frustrating to see how little gets added to it of value and just how comfortable they are phoning everything in and going through the motions without any real content. That's why I don't actively play. I have no reason to. Do you think Destiny can become another Anthem? No, it's never gonna like fully
Not like that.
fail or anything. Destiny's too big to fail. I don't think that'll ever happen.
So there you have it, the full video and my reaction to MoistCritical's criticism of Destiny 2's state of the game. Overall, he has some really good insights, and I love hearing a variety of different opinions from different directions. People with different backgrounds and different experiences giving their own criticisms of the game. It's not only experts and veterans like myself that are allowed to speak on the game and give their opinions. Everyone's allowed to give their opinions and weigh in their 2 cents as long as they try to do it in a constructive way. In doing so, you'll actually give good feedback to Bungie, and hopefully they will receive that, and we might actually get some resolve for some of these issues. So comment your thoughts down in the comments below of this video, and make sure you're subscribed if you want to stay up to date on all things Destiny 2. Smash that like button and click on the screen here to watch another video from this channel. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.